somebody whose profile is 50% me telling people to fuck off. I really appreciate that people can still see that positively.
So the next time somebody says something shitty about you, check in to see if maybe this is a reflection more of the person who said that comment.
You look like a grown-up rat.
Alright, so first off, let's address this mess. And honestly, I've got nothing to add. She's basically just replying to somebody who told her that she's wearing too much makeup and too much glitter. And I agree with her on this point. You can wear whatever you like and however much makeup you like. Now this, she offers no rebuttal to the original commenter who said that, here's another secret, if you eat less calories, you don't gain excess weight. She basically just mocks them and calls them a bumhole. So she's really not giving me much to work with there. But props to the costume, I actually really love it. Kind of given like a gypsy pirate mixed in with a little bit of Tiger King. So yeah, I'm totally loving the costume. Okay, so that's probably the extent of all the nice things that I have to say for today. Oh, and her name is Ariel or Ariel. I'm not actually sure the pronunciation. I'm gonna stick with Ariel. I think that's a really pretty name. Okay, now that's probably all the nice things that I'm gonna say for today. So why are we talking about this lovely lady? She's just dancing and teaching other people how to dance. Well, no, that's not all she does. A lot of these fat activists like to respond to their haters in the comment section by educating them. And Ariel is no different. However, when someone tells her to lose weight and you won't experience fat phobia, rather than screaming and throwing a fit like some other activists that we know, Ariel instead chooses to use interpretive dance. The text above reads, other ways people have attempted the same concept. Conversion therapy for gay people, skin bleaching, ABA therapy for autistics, stealing Native children to put in white schools. The solution is letting go of white culture's rules. White culture demands conformity or else. The more we let go, the freer we are. So, telling someone to lose weight is similar to conversion therapy or skin bleaching? I'm gonna have to disagree. And honestly, I really hate how some of these fat activists are trying to attach their fatness to any and every other marginalized group just to use other people's real struggles and real discrimination as some sort of shield to protect them from fat phobic people. Like, to me, they're trying to use the argument of, oh, if you think overweight and obese people need to lose weight, you're homophobic. Oh, you think obesity is unhealthy? Racist. And then they'll try to shove fearing the black body down your throat as some sort of proof. Like, no thank you. Knowing that obesity is unhealthy or not wanting to be fat has nothing to do with your race or your sexuality. This kind of argument actually really reminds me of this group of absolutely disgusting people who want to be identified as minor attracted persons, aka pedophiles. Those people have tried to insert themselves into the LGBTQ, who have rightfully shut them down because is not a fucking sexual orientation. And that whole situation is like absolutely disgusting and really makes my blood boil, but like I kind of got off track there. So the point, what is the point? Right, so trying to attach fat phobia to real discrimination issues like racism or homophobia really waters down those real struggles and fails to acknowledge that being fat is under your control, at least to an extent. And as much as she cries and stomps her feet, fatness is not an immutable characteristic in the same way that your race or sexual orientation is. Now, this video also had a description, which I think we need to take a look through. In her description, she says, I said what I said though, assimilation is not the answer. And don't even get me started on how this would be my 5th weight cycle if I were to intentionally lose weight, and I already know how it ends. I gain all the weight back and then some. I am part of the 95% of people for whom intentional weight loss fails, and the 66% of people who gain more weight than they lost. When I did maintain a 25% reduction in my body size for 4 years, it was through schmamorexia, which of course we know we can't talk about that word here. Okay, so that 95% stat that is stated over and over again by these fat activists, there's not a lot of research to back up that claim. Now, yes, most studies seem to suggest that the majority of people fail at long-term weight loss after a diet. So that's a bit problematic. But to me, that's more indicative that 95% of people, or whatever the true percentage of people is, let's just roll with the 95% for now. These studies, more than anything, suggest that 95% of people aren't able to maintain a long-term diet or a long-term lifestyle change, which is not surprising given the obesity epidemic. Everything in our environment pushes us to make poor choices that are unhealthy, either because it's easier or cheaper or engineered to make you want to eat more of it, while at the same time not making you satiated. Now, I'm not trying to be grim or pessimistic here, just being realistic. Real effort is needed to make a lifestyle change. Going on a short-term diet is just that, short-term. If you go back to what you were doing and how you were eating before, then of course you're gonna go back to the same weight that you were before. But she didn't just say that 95% of diets fail. She said she is part of the 95% for whom intentional weight loss fails. The studies do not mean that diets don't work on 95% of people. No, a diet or a reduction in calories is going to work on 100% of people. But those 95% were unable to maintain a diet or lifestyle change. And do you see the subtle but important distinction there? She is trying to use these stats to predict her destiny when it just doesn't work like that. Just because she failed in the past does not mean that she is destined to fail at any other attempt she makes. However, she is destined to fail because she is reinforcing her belief of this helplessness and creating her own self-fulfilling prophecy. But you don't have to be like this. No one has to consume excess calories. Now, in this next video, Ariel is responding to a commenter who said, "Gym won't fix the problem. The only thing that will work is to stop the overconsumption of calories."
Every fat person knows more about nutrition than you. If you're gonna make an assumption, assume that we've already heard. We've done 1,000,000 diets, read 1,000 books. Hey, paid people to tell us how to fix our meats. Hey.
I was vibing for a second there, but did she just say she paid people to fix her meats? What does that even mean? Like, does she mean like how to cook meat? Like how to prepare your meals? Or like, is she referring to herself as the meat to be fixed? Am I just missing something here? Just let me know if I'm missing something. What does it mean to fix your meat? It just sounds wrong.
If long-term weight loss was possible for us, we'd have done it. To escape spam slices like you and our doctors.
She really just believes that for some people, weight loss just isn't possible. And she says that she would have already lost weight to escape her doctor. Is she ignoring doctors' advice because the doctors are being fat phobic? And I think that's where we really get into dangerous territory. This constant reinforcement that doctors are bad and you should avoid them at any cost because they're just gonna tell you to lose weight. I think it's a really dangerous mindset and a really dangerous message to put out because if that's your expectation, you're not gonna wanna go to the doctor, which in my opinion is probably not the best way to advocate for yourself. If you don't agree with one doctor, of course, go and get some second opinions. But if you go to 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all telling you to lose weight, it could be time to think about maybe losing weight.
Citing calories in and calories out lets me know that you haven't done a minimum of research. Check that Google. Check that Google.
I mean, if you burn more calories than you take in, you lose weight. We're not defying the laws of thermodynamics here. And to suggest that eating less calories won't make you lose weight is really silly. Yes, there are many factors that go into weight loss that make it more difficult than simply calories in versus calories out. And there are factors that can make this equation more difficult to maintain. Like, for example, if you start to increase your activity and run more and do more exercise, you might find yourself getting more hungry. Or if you choose to restrict heavily, you might find yourself bouncing back and rebelling against such a strict diet. Or you might just find that you just don't have the time and energy to carve out of your day to choose the healthy things. But that does not mean that calories don't matter or that this equation of calories in versus calories out is not true. If you take in too few calories, you will lose weight. If you take in too many calories, you will gain weight. And sometimes I really feel that these fat activists are just trying so hard to make weight loss this impossible, difficult thing to give themselves a better reason as to why it's so hard or why they haven't been successful.
So if you won't stop being a lazy, thin person who looks stuff up, at least start assuming that we know, and don't want to f***ing hear it,
And this lets me know that it really doesn't matter what I say in this video. Now, I'm pretty sure that she will never watch this, but even if she did somehow find this video, she would never listen to what I'm saying. She will never listen to any research or evidence or facts or even anecdotal stories that are counter to her core belief that some people are meant to be overweight and obese. She's going to continue to cherry pick evidence, ignore facts to the contrary, misinterpret statistics, and sometimes just straight up make it up. So this video is not for her. I'm not trying to change her mind. That's a lost cause, as will be further proved when she responds to the commenter who says that you've increased your chances of diabetes, heart disease, and a plethora of other medical ailments. Great job.
Oh my god, I fucking know. Every fat person is aware what you think of our health and body and the correlation between size and health. We fucking know. I probably won't end up with either of those because it's not in my genetic code. It's not. No, it's cancer. Or it's stroke.
Okay, let's say, for example, that my family has no history of lung cancer. Therefore, I should be able to smoke with absolutely no risk or worry that I'm gonna get lung cancer. Doesn't make much sense, right? Because you can have an increased risk of certain medical ailments just because of your genetics and your family history. However, you can also increase your risk of certain ailments like heart disease just by your lifestyle choices, like having too much adipose tissue on your body. And I think it's really dumb to assume that just because your genetics don't put you at a higher risk of certain diseases, that means that somehow you're immune to these risks.
But guess what? It wasn't my larger body that raised that risk. It was from putting my body in a state of semi-starvation for 4 years. Yeah.
Semi-starvation? That's what we're calling a calorie deficit now? All right.
Unlocked all kinds of shit in my genetic code. Genetic code. Yeah, like fibromyalgia. Let's see what else I end up with cause I dieted.
But how do you know that a calorie deficit is the reason that you got fibromyalgia? Myalgia? How the fuck?
Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia. Anyway, how do you know that it was your calorie deficit that increased your risk of fibromyalgia? Like, literally zero evidence to support this claim. And I think that it's downright dangerous to suggest that dieting will give you something like this. I couldn't find any research to support her claim. However, there is a ton of research that's saying improving your diet and even losing weight improves the symptoms of fibromyalgia, which I only found because I was looking high and low for any research to support her claim that losing weight triggered her fibromyalgia or dieting triggered it.
Despite all the research, science still hasn't concluded that adipose tissue itself is harmful.
Otherwise, liposuction would lead to better health outcomes, and it doesn't.
Now, this is the classic fat activist correlation versus causation argument. They say that just because excess weight and excess adipose tissue is correlated to these bad health outcomes doesn't mean it causes these bad health outcomes. Now, adipose tissue is important for your health. If you have zero fat on your body, that's not healthy. If you have excessive amounts of it, that's also not healthy. I don't know why that is so difficult to understand. So no, adipose tissue itself is not harmful and is even beneficial for your body. You need it to be healthy. You don't need an excess amount of it. That's when it becomes unhealthy. Also, she says that if adipose tissue itself was unhealthy, then you'd see better health outcomes through liposuction. Well, liposuction does lead to better health outcomes. Studies show that liposuction will lead to a decreased risk of developing things like diabetes. Or looking at Anna O'Brien's story, or glitter and lasers, it appears that there's also a lot of research showing that liposuction is effective at treating lipedema, leading to an increase in mobility and a decrease in pain caused by this unburnable fat. So yeah, check that Google.
So let's talk about why I think dieting set off my fibromyalgia. These are just my opinions, but I will give you the resources of where I found these kind of information.
First off, yes, I went through all of her description, all of the comments. There is no resources or references provided. And I did my own digging and I found absolutely nothing to support her claims. Nothing to suggest that dieting or weight loss may lead to fibromyalgia.
Everybody has a set point, about 20-ish pounds range that the body likes to stay in. The problem really comes in with those of us who have pushed our bodies below the set point.
And let's not talk about the people who have pushed themselves above this set point. Now, I don't necessarily agree with set point theory, or at least not fully. Now, I do believe that there are individual variances on what is a healthy weight range and what is a healthy body fat percentage for any one specific person. Like, of course, that is going to vary from person to person. But clearly, there's a point where it's very obviously just too much. What I disagree with is when people try to claim that their body's set point is like 50 pounds overweight, and they just can't make the scale budge because that's where their body wants to be. Your body is not fighting you to be obese. You're fighting your body by feeding it high-calorie junk food that doesn't satiate you.
One thing that's pretty well known in the anti-diet community is that our bodies view diets as famine. I think it can be safely agreed that famine is probably pretty stressful on the body. So in fibromyalgia discourse, one thing that's well known is that trauma is often a precursor to fibromyalgia.
Weight loss is trauma? Ma'am, I just cannot. If anything, maybe her mindset around the dieting was her trauma. Doesn't mean that losing weight is bad, and doesn't mean that dieting is always bad. Sounds like just her mindset around dieting was/is bad.
Now, for someone like me who held my body below my set point for 4 years, that's a long period of famine. So with those two things in mind, I feel like it's not a big reach that famine, aka dieting, can be something that leads to chronic pain.
From my extensive Googling trying to find her resources, of which I found none to support her claims, the trauma that is cited in some research that can trigger fibromyalgia is things like a car crash or a bad infection or PTSD from being in war, not going into a calorie deficit and gradually losing weight over the course of 4 years.
And if, like me, you found yourself not having any health issues before dieting or intentional weight loss or lifestyle change or whatever you want to call it, that you had no problems and then you do, I just want to offer you some compassion. And if you've gained weight and you're in pain, it's not likely because of the weight. It's likely because of the dieting. That's my opinion.
You know, health conditions can develop at any time in your life. I think it's really silly to attribute weight loss to such a health condition with absolutely nothing to back it up. I really don't think you can make such a blanket statement like that. If you're overweight or obese, odds are that weight loss is going to help your situation. And if you watch shows like My 600 Pound Life, you'll see that after surgery, some patients still die. Some still develop or continue to suffer with major complications related to their years of excess weight. And sometimes shit just happens and it has nothing to do with your weight gain or weight loss.
Now, I do want to move on to another topic that is really important to me, and that's to do with exercising and exercising in a larger body. Here, she was responding to somebody who said that, how do you dance and still weigh 200 pounds? In response, with more interpretive dance, she says, lots of fat people are in excellent shape. Insert fat joke here. If you don't know, fat activists generally hate the BMI. So we have something now called the BRI, or the Body Roundness Index. So yes, all fat activists will now be categorized as a shape. Okay, so she continues dancing, saying, dancers come in all sizes. Stop assuming you know anything about someone's health from their appearance. Assumptions like that lead to serious consequences like medical weight stigma. Remember, the original commenter asked her how she still dances and yet weighs 200 pounds. Which I don't know if that's an accurate number, it's not the point. The original commenter said nothing about her health. She's the one that tied health to that 200-pound number on the scale. And this is very typical behavior for someone who is insecure. This next bit is a little bit weird because she goes on to say, and don't go thinking because I'm a small fat that I get a pass, but larger folks deserve to be shamed. Cut that shit out, fat people deserve to be seen. I see you. Believe me, you're not hard to miss. She goes on to say, our health isn't your business. Now for f***'s sake, can I just go back to dancing instead of explaining why I need to take up space? Let fat people live. Again, original commenter said nothing about her health. And her saying, oh, just let me dance? Like, girl, no, you are not just dancing. You're also taking this radical fat acceptance stance, claiming weight loss to be detrimental and doing what, in my opinion, only helps people to feel more disempowered by their weight. Feel more like their weight is out of their control. Like their life and their health is completely out of their hands. And I don't agree with that. so I'm gonna say something. But you go ahead and dance your heart out. I got no problem with that. Which, let's get back to the original commenter, because I don't think that Ariel discussed or addressed the commenter too well. And I actually do have a bit of an opinion on the matter. The original commenter was asking how she can dance basically every day, putting hours into this activity presumably, and yet still be overweight. Now, I think that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what is the point of exercise. Because if you want to lose weight, exercise is not going to get you there. And yes, you can run 10K a day and increase your calorie expenditure. But the reality is that the majority of your weight loss is going to come from dietary changes. That's the easy way to do it. Exercise, on the other hand, is great for your mental health. It's great for your social health, depending on like what exercises you're doing. It's great for increasing your strength or improving a skill. And if your goal is weight loss, then it's a great way to keep you motivated. And one thing that I do agree with Ariel is that anyone, any size, can dance if they want to. And for people with physical limitations, it's great to have creators and studios that can accommodate for different abilities. So that is one thing that I do like about Ariel. She offers other alternatives, even like seated dancing and even laying down dancing, to make things more accessible to more people. But let's just say you're a perfectly able-bodied person with nothing wrong with you aside from the fact that you are overweight or obese. That alone is going to limit you, and you can't convince me otherwise. I, for example, have a current obsession with aerial hoop. I absolutely love it. I'm not great at it, but I have a lot of fun. And I think that anyone with the opportunity should give it a try. And I don't think that you should let your weight stop you from trying new things like this. There are plenty of moves and poses and dances that you can do even if you're overweight. But I'm also not delusional. I know that my hobby would become much more difficult if I were to gain an extra 20 pounds. If I gain more weight, I know that it's going to be more difficult to do a pull-up. If I gain more weight, it's going to be difficult to even do a dead hang on the bar. And if I gain even more weight, I'm going to have to start thinking about serious reinforcements to my ceiling. Some activities, some hobbies, some exercises become more difficult just by increasing your weight. So yes, on one hand, don't let your weight stop you from living your life. Go try those fun activities. Go try those new experiences. But on the other hand, don't let your weight stop you from living your life.